All right, so it's 3 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and get started. I think Tim had a demo that was going to run over a little bit, so we're recording for him. Looks like Brad, I've got audio from you maybe. Anybody else can put in your PIN and unmute yourselves so we can ask questions. So the big thing that I want to talk about is some new capabilities that we've given the 120 system now. Darren has been asking for this stuff for a while, and I think for Wes it's probably going to have an impact in international as well. So we have a new behavior for the SF-123 peripheral, station, sorry. So what that allows the SF-123 to do is function as a room level reset device. That means that if it's installed on the wall inside the room and all your other SF-123s are also connected and programmed as the same station, anything that's an alarm can be reset with the push of one button. So let me move my camera over here a little bit, and I'll show you what I mean by that. Okay. All right, so let's see here. Everybody should be seeing my kind of 120 rack of stuff right now. Is that correct? All right, so essentially what we've got going on now is I have this station set up as a room level reset. So if you get a call from an SF-121, right now it's from station 121. This is actually set up as station 120, 121, 122, so on and so forth. So normally you would be going over here and hitting the reset button locally on that SF-122, but now you can actually reset this call by pressing this button right here. So the problem is, well, it's not really a problem. The catch to this is, I may not have gotten that button pressed correct. Oh no, I've assigned that to a different station. Hang on just one second. That's my mistake. This. All right, so we order these things in huge batches from Gigatech, and as such, there's a kind of a lead time to when we get new labels included with this thing. So what we've done is we've come up with a little insert. Hopefully you can see that. Sales has this label, so you can send that file to your customers that want to use this function, and they can print it off, cut it in there, or cut it out and slide it in there, and that way they'll have this functionality a little bit quicker. The other thing that you'll notice is this button says check-in and reset. So the other thing that you can now do with the Tek-CARE 120 system is satisfy a check-in requirement. To anybody that's set up check-in with a 500 system, I'm sorry, I'm just committing, that's why that's making some noise there. So anybody that's set up with a check-in for Tek-CARE 500 system should be familiar with the process. It's pretty straightforward. You put in your schedule, you choose what stations you want that schedule to apply to. But with the Tek-CARE 120 system, we now have two methods to determine what we're going to do with that check-in. Hang on a second. What we're going to do with that check-in input. So we can use the SF-123 to satisfy that check-in requirement just by hitting that button, and now we'll see that room level reset. So we got a call from 121, hit that button, call this away. So there's your room level reset function for the SF-123. So the SF-123 can be used to satisfy a check-in requirement. And let me get you looking at my screen here. So what that looks like is if we go to our points, I'm going to go ahead and hide disabled and hide detectable. If we pick out an SF-123, there's now another behavior down here, and that's reset button. So if you want to set up an SF-123 as a room level reset or as a check-in station, you just need to assign it that behavior. So over here, I don't know if I have check-in. Yeah, so I've got some schedules set up. This should feel very familiar with assigning it to whatever stations it needs to be assigned to. You got your vacation options down in there still. So, but there's two ways to satisfy a check-in requirement on a Tek-CARE 120 system. The first is going to be with that SF123, so I'm kind of looping back around here. The second is another new behavior that we have for our PM123 aux input module, which is, I have one here. So before, we just had aux input 1 and aux input 2, and now we have an additional aux check-in function there. So essentially what that means is if you got a PM123 like this hooked up on your system, and you assign this point to be an aux check-in, there's two contacts on the PM123. And this is all documented in Rev 4 of the Tek-CARE 120 manual, so don't feel the need to absorb it all right now. But essentially what it boils down to is if you connect a normally open contact to input 1, contact 1 of that PM123, if at any point during the check-in period that contact is closed, then the check-in requirement will be satisfied. If you connect that normally open contact to input 2 or contact 2, it's going to satisfy the check-in requirement on a state change. So real-world examples of this, let's say you want to use a motion detector for check-in on your 120 system. In that instance, you would probably connect it to input 1, reason being because you don't necessarily care what's going on before or after. You just want to know if that motion detector is activated at any time during that period. So input 1 gives you, like I said, closed at any point is going to satisfy the check-in requirement. If somebody gets up, moves, triggers the motion detector, it's going to hit the check-in requirement. Now, if you had a door switch, you would probably want to put it on input 2. Reason being, input 2 monitors a state change to satisfy the check-in. So let's say you had you put your door contact on a bathroom door. If you connected input 2, it doesn't really care whether the door is open or closed at the start of the check-in period. It just wants to see a change. Either that contact going open or going closed from its initial state is going to satisfy the requirement. If you had taken that normally open door contact and you had put it on input 1 of the PM123 and the door was closed, let's say they had closed the door before they went to bed and it got to be, the check-in window started at 8 a.m. and the door was closed at 7:59 and it remained closed until 8:01, that means that that door is shut at some point during the check-in period, so it's automatically going to be satisfied. That's probably not the desired behavior if you're using the door switch. That's why you put a door switch on input 2 and anything like a motion detector, pressure pad, or what have you on input 1. The other thing that you can do, and let me see if I can get my, my webcam view back here. There we go. So let me kind of zoom in a little bit on our master station. Give me just a second. So, zoom in here. All right, so I think, let me go look at my, let me look at my config real quick. And if I go to check-in, I don't know if I have anything assigned currently. I do, so 121. So what we can do now is if we go to our master station and we dial station 121 and hit search, there's now a button down here for check-in. So we can hit check-in and we can see with the check marks here, it's a little far out for y'all to tell. Let's zoom in just a hair more. I know that's not super clear, but we can see now with our check marks there what check-in period is assigned to the station. You know, if we wanted to select multiples, we can. If we want to clear them all out, we can also. The other thing that you can do is you can dial a station and touch that vacation button to put it in vacation or take it out. That's pretty similar to how it's worked on the 402s before. The other thing that you can do is if you're using, and this is not anything you have to set up, this just sort of happens automatically. If you have a station with check-in set up and you're using an SF-123 with that reset function selected, you don't actually have to manually take it out of vacation. You can walk in the room and just press that check-in reset button, and that'll automatically pull the station out of vacation mode. That doesn't work for the PM123 used as a check-in. Reason being, Kevin thought it'd be a good idea to have something intentional take it out. So let's say that if somebody's out of the room for a period of time, if somebody, they're out on vacation and they're supposed to be gone for a week, if somebody walks in to clean the room or do the bathroom or whatever, if there were a motion detector, they would automatically trip it and take it out of vacation mode without really meaning to. But a button press on that SF-123 is a little more intentional. So let me try not make a CSIP here. So does anybody have any questions on check-in with the Tek-CARE 120 system before we kind of move on? Yes, no? Looking at the chat. Let me pull up the chat. I don't see anybody in the chat, and I don't hear anybody with questions, so we're going to keep on going. If you want to look back at my config now, the other big thing, and this is not just Tek-CARE 120, this is across the board. The other thing that we released with this software version is it's a new option here. If you go to your stations page, you'll see there's a new drop-down menu here that says secondary dome annunciation. And basically what that is, in simple terms, it's sending local calls from one station, the station that you've selected on this page, to the dome light of a second station, which is determined by this drop-down box here. Let me look at one while I've got it set up. So, yeah, here's one. So right now, I've selected station 121, which is, if you're looking at the webcam, station 121 is this row right here. I've set up a secondary annunciation for station 120, which is this row of stations right here. So if I place a call on 120, it's going to show up on the master station, on its dome light, and as well as the dome light on 120, because that's essentially what I've forced it to do. It doesn't work the other way automatically. Right? So if I place an emergency call from 120, it's going to enunciate on the master stations, it's going to enunciate on its own dome light, and you can see it at the very top up here. It's enunciating on a zone light that's connected to a master station, to a duty station. So I don't really want to get too confusing with this concept. It was really done as an alternative to zone lights, not to prevent you from using zone lights, but just to give you a little more functionality. Because we have a lot of people that are kind of building zones and using up zone IDs just to turn on a light or something, and that can get a little messy. This, I think, is a little bit cleaner. So this works for 120, Tek-CARE 120 systems and Tek-CARE 400 and P5 systems. Let me slide over here. And I've done essentially the same thing. If we want to look at, sorry, hopefully y'all can still see my screen. If I hide unused, if we look at station 40, okay, so, yeah, sorry, I've kind of forgotten what I did. So station 403 over here, or 401 rather, the way this row is set up is everything on this row is 400, 401, 402, 403, 404. The only thing that I have that is a zone light is up there at the very top, the light connected to the duty station. So if I place a call here, it enunciates on its local dome light as well as Let me tilt this up a little bit. There we go. As well as the zone dome there in the top left corner. Now, if I come down here to 401, which we just looked at a second ago here in the config, we see that I've chosen a secondary dome enunciation as 403. So what that means is this is just a multi-purpose station. That is not a zone light. It does not have PM484 ZP5 to make it an LI484 ZP5 on it. I've just told it in the software, when you see a call from station 401, light up the dome light on 403. So a couple important things with this is it's only one level. You're not going to get, secondary and tertiary levels of dome enunciation and all that. The other thing is it has to be within a module. So the reason this works is everything is connected to that little NC450 micro down there, and down there, and there's one PM455 in this can. So I can't choose a 120 station and make it secondary dome enunciation on the 400 side of things. If I had multiple PM455s, I couldn't take a station connected to one module and force it to enunciate on the station connected to another module. But that's sort of enforced in the software. If we edit this, it's really only going to show you in the drop-down menu. Oh, it has all these 600s because by default, those are the addresses for module 6. I just changed the IDs here. So you're going to notice that you don't see anything for like the 0100 stations because all the 0100 stuff is in C120. So it's sort of enforced here without really having to do much. What else can we do? So those are the two big things. Let me grab this iPod that's hopefully still charged somewhat. It's not, it's dead. Crap. I can do it from master. Give me just a second, get back over here. All right, so before, if you'll remember, when we placed a call, so we had this routine. If we went in here to send a message, the message when it arrived, it just not really have any information associated with it. Like if I selected iPod 2, here we go. Now you'll see automatically in front of the message that concerns the station, we have the station ID, right? So when we choose like to need ice chips, the iPod is dead, unfortunately. I meant to charge that this morning. But when that message arrives at the iPod, instead of just saying needs ice chips without really any indication of what station needs ice chips, it's now going to show the station ID there in the subject line. So that's also sort of transparent to the end user. Let's see. We've now got a default staff assignment for all. We automatically assign all staff members to all calls. That's sort of like what we do with having a nowhere location on the Tek-CARE 500 system, all and everything now to make installation a little easier. We've got, the label generator. That's sort of neat. So if you go to Tools and Generate SF123 label images, you can't do it while you're editing. I should have known that. So now we've got a few more options here that a customer can use to create their own custom labels. They can actually browse and find, like if I were to go to graphics and logos, I could actually pull out a Tectone logo like that and hit open, and it'll actually put it in. I'll put some text down here at the bottom. And this is going to be sort of ugly, but we'll at least show you what it looks like. So if we put this on the desktop now, We should, yeah. So now you see what we've done is we've created a label with custom colors, custom text, and a logo on there. So a facility might want their reset button to be the logo for their facility, or maybe they have some sort of, maybe they want a routine text on their lower button or something like that. They can now do that pretty easily. So whether you want to tell that to your end customers or whether that's just something that you want to tell your distributors or your customers, maybe it's something they can charge for on their end, because it will require a little bit of effort. Printing that is a little frustrating. You have to, if you print from paint, there's a couple options there. It may require a little bit of playing around, but they'll get it figured out. It's going to differ on pretty much every machine. So sorry I'm kind of droning on here. The other stuff that's in here is really sort of transparent. There is a small bug fix, but that really shouldn't affect anybody. We've been over all the other stuff. So now, if you want to see who I've got muted or who I've got unmuted, if there's any questions, feel free to go ahead and ask them here or in the chat also. A couple people are self-muted, and that's fine. So, does anybody have any questions before we end the webinar? Going once.
Hey, this is Sean Corrigan. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you, Sean. What's up?
Hey, does this software contain the password protection for the volume control on the 415?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I did forget to mention that, and I forgot to write it down on my sheet here. Lynn actually caught me on that when I did the in-house stuff. Yes, now the master settings option in the config tool will protect your brightness and your volume on the NC415 master.
When will that be posted on the TEP site?
Probably tomorrow or Wednesday. It won't be too long. The other thing that you can now do, since we're, it's on the section page, that's why I didn't get to it. The other thing we can now do with 415s is if we go to the masters page, there's now a box here for tone silence enabled. That allows you to just do a global, choice on each master, whether or not to allow the staff to silence a call. So before now, we had to go into each individual call type over here, and it was an option right here, silenceable. And you had to turn that on or off for every call type. That can be sort of a pain in the neck. A lot of people just want to, use a big rock and turn everything off at once. So if this is checked, then the NC415, this tone off button right here, that's going to work for silenceable calls. If that box is not checked, then regardless of what the choice is on the call type, you're not going to be able to silence that tone at the master. So yeah, those are on the back of the page. I'm going to get to those. Does that answer your question, Sean?
Yes, that does. And then the other question I had, are we going to be able to reset stat calls at some point from the room?
From the room, actually, you might be able to do that now. Let's try that. So if we dial 121, and I place a stat call on it, right? All I'm going to do is hit that reset button. Yes. Okay. So what I did, let me back this up a little bit again. Get us back in view here. So all I did there was I placed a, zoom out, sorry. So when I dialed station 121 here, from this screen, which I know you probably can't see zoomed out, I just placed the stat call. So now the stat call is enunciating on the whole system. But to reset that, all I did was I went over here and I hit the check-in reset button associated with that room, and that cleared it. So yeah, that's now how you would reset a stat call associated with that location. So is that clear? Clear as mud?
Okay, good. You can't disable the stat feature, can you? It's not behind a password protected function, right?
No. That's just the ability to place a call in the system.
Right.
No, I don't believe you could do that. I mean, you could change it to, well, yeah, I see what you're saying. That option is just always going to be there on the NC415. So there's nothing we can do about that at present. That sort of falls into, the call filter here is just for enunciations. It's not for being able to place. So yeah, it's just always going to appear there just along with the L1, L2, L3 and the statuses if you're using those. So
No, that's okay. The fact that it resets from the room is a big deal.
yeah, I mean, it's not going to do that automatically. You're going to have to, you know, put an extra SF123 in there and assign it as a check-in reset. But yeah, it can be done now, sure. Because we didn't have that capability before. Any other questions? I don't think we have anything in the chat window yet. So yeah, that's pretty much it. The documentation is going to be included in the new config tool manual, which you'll see probably later today or tomorrow. And it'll be in the, there's a little help in the config tool also. So I may not do this with every software release, but just when there's things that are valuable to sites or some things that are sellable or, you know, features like that that will affect what we can provide in the field, I'll probably call a quick webinar. So yeah, just keep an eye out for that. So last time for questions.
Hey, Jared, it's Sean Corrigan. I'll throw another one at you. Mm-hmm. Hey, if the 415s were being used on a 500 or 400 P5, would the resident check-in features be relevant, or do they only apply to, you know, 120 devices?
Yeah, no, the check-in is going to be good for whatever stations, you know, the master can enunciate. So I don't have check-in set up on any of the 400 stations, but if I did go into the dial screen and dial a station on the 400 side, I could turn on check-in or turn off check-in or do the vacation or whatever from that also.
Right, even if it were like a wireless motion on the 500?
Yeah. You can still assign schedules. Sorry, you can still assign schedules and put things in vacation and take them out that way also.
Okay.
So I forget who was, it may have been Tim actually, that was asking about the secondary dome enunciation, so I may spend some time with him a little bit. I don't think he's in the webinar yet. But we're all recording it for you, Tim. But yeah, the important thing with secondary dome enunciation, the biggest restriction on that is that it's got to be within the same module. Remember, it's not just the same type of system, it's actually within the individual module of the system. So anybody else? Going once, going twice? All right, well, thanks everybody for your time. And like I said, as we get more features that are useful to you guys, I'll try and keep you up to speed on those also. Have a good day, y'all.